What is going on, y'all? It's your man EK here, back with another edition of the Clutch City Review, where I review every single Houston Rockets game from this 2024-2025 season. Before I get started with this review, I just want to go ahead and say, please like, share, subscribe to this video if you like what I have to say about the Houston Rockets. Also, if you're not already doing so, please follow me on X at Coalition Hoops or on Instagram at coalition.hoops, where you can see more Houston Rockets content and other content from other basketball players as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the main reason why I'm posting this video now, as opposed to doing it from a game-by-game basis, was because the Houston Rockets just came off of a 2-game road stand against the San Antonio Spurs, and I wanted to wait to give my review so I can give my review of both games and sort of showcase what I saw from both outings. Obviously, for anybody who watched, we ended up splitting the series, the early season series, with the San Antonio Spurs 1-1. They ended up beating us this past Saturday 109-106, and we were able to get our lick back, beating them 106-101 yesterday. So I want to talk about the things I saw from the loss, right? So obviously on Saturday, it was a bit frustrating for us to lose in the way we lost for a variety of reasons. First off, we did not get off to a very good start on Saturday. We ended up giving up 38 points in the first quarter alone. We were not able to guard the three very well. And although we scored 31 points, we weren't able to really get any consistent offense. It was very, very stagnated for the most part. And then in the second quarter of Saturday's game, that's when we really ended up losing the game. We only scored 10 points in that quarter, while the Spurs ended up scoring 24 points. We got outscored 14 points in the second quarter after we had already gotten outscored 7 points in the first quarter, obviously making it a 21-point deficit at the half. And that was a lot for us to try to climb up out of. And I definitely want to show some love to guys who did show up on Saturday, most notably Jalen Green, who had 29 points. He was 10 of 22 from the field, and he also played incredible just defense, help defense, primary defender defense. He was awesome on Saturday, and I feel like he's turning into that playmaking guard that we need him to be. He's recognizing that teams are going to try to hedge on, any type of pick and roll that where he's the primary defender, where he's trying to get around the defense and trying to get into the lane. In an attempt to try to slow him down, defenders are going to try to send the big man to hedge off of that. But the thing about it is he's so fast, he gets around that corner so quick. By the time he's going downhill in a straight line, he's got that second defender on his hip already. And at that point, it's just a matter of him finishing. So he's either going to finish or get to the free throw line. And that's what he was really able to showcase, not only in the game on Saturday, but the game we ended up winning yesterday. In addition, we have to talk about Fred VanVleet and what he was able to do on Saturday as well. I thought he played a really good game as well. He had 18 points with 7 assists and 3 steals. Had some questionable decisions, to be completely honest with you, but I wasn't too mad at it because in a game where we really didn't have any offensive punch whatsoever, he was able to provide that for us, and he gave us a chance to come back and steal that game. And also Dillon Brooks, right? Dillon Brooks is known as the instigator, the antagonizer, things of that nature, but he can also hoop. And when he's needed, he can make big shots. And in the second half of Saturday's game, he had some big threes, especially in the fourth quarter. He was 4 for 7 of 3, I believe. He was 6 of 12 for the game, had 16 points, a couple of rebounds. He played very, very well, considering the fact that we couldn't really get any offense from anywhere else. And then you had guys like Cam Whitmore come off the bench with 10. Jock Landale gave us some good minutes. He had 13 points in about 14 minutes. He played extremely well off the bench. And the one glaring sort of misnomer about Saturday's game was obviously the performance by Prince Sengun. He only had 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. He only played 22 minutes, I believe. He was 2 of 8 from the field. It was clear that once the game started and Victor Wembanyama was going to go at him, and he was very aggressive to start that game, hitting some straightaway threes on him and blocking his shot and things of that nature. It was clear that he was a bit shell shocked, and he wasn't really able to get his legs under him. And obviously, because he's such a big part of our game, that pretty much blew up our entire offensive game plan, using him as the hub in that mid post to elbow area. Well, not even mid post, to that elbow down area. Using him as a guy who can either create offense for others, or using him as a hub for guys to play off of. Where a guy like a Jalen Green can play off ball a little bit, a guy like a Fred VanVleet can play off ball a little bit, a guy like a Jabari Smith Jr. can play off ball a little bit. You know, Tari Eason and Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore, all these guys, these super athletes, can play off of this hub, who not only has the ability to score in the post when he needs to, but he can also make the extra pass, whether it be a skip pass, whether it be a hockey assist, or whether it be a direct assist. You know, he has the ability to make all those passes as an undersized big. And those are just some of the qualities he possesses that makes him so instrumental for our team to be successful. And unfortunately, he just wasn't able to really get it together on Saturday. And I think that was the main reason why we lost. On top of the fact that obviously we got out rebounded by a ton, and points in the paint, we got destroyed points in the paint wise as well. Obviously, because the Spurs, they employ some pretty big guys. You got guys like Victor Wembanyama, obviously Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson was getting to the rim at will. Along with some of the other guards and forwards, they were just really able to get to the rim at will because our defensive rotations weren't where they needed to be. We were a bit slow on that. We weren't able to force the turnovers we needed to force in order to get out and run and use our athletes to the best of their ability, which is what we do, I think, better than the top half of the league, in my opinion. I know it's still early, but that's just what I believe. We weren't able to do that, and we had to claw and fight our way back in a game where we really shouldn't have been down by that much. And it came down to a final three by Jalen Green, who I believe he got swiped. I believe he got fouled on that three attempt by Jeremy Sohan, but they didn't call it, so we ended up losing that game 109 to 106. Once again, not blaming the refs at all. We shouldn't have never been in that position. I think Operation Goon coming out and just playing timidly and playing very, very poorly allowed the Spurs to sort of get out to a big lead, and we had to fight back. But I do want to give shout-outs to Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, and Dylan Brooks, along with Cam Whitmore and Jock Landale for giving the solid minutes during that game. And then we fast forward 2 days later, and we end up playing the Spurs again. And very, very different attitude coming out of that Saturday loss. You know, obviously Alperen Sengun was extremely disappointed in his performance. Ime Udoka obviously said that he couldn't keep him on the floor because he wasn't able to keep up with the pace of the game, which, you know, can be an indictment on, you know, a player's conditioning, a player's mindset, all those type of things. So I felt like he took it extremely personal, and he definitely wanted to come out and play better. And I think as a team, the Rockets wanted to come out and play better because of not only the I-10 rivalry and things of that nature, but also because of some comments that were said from a certain Spurs player. I'm not going to get into what he actually said, but he said some disparaging things about Houston, and a lot of the fan base, including myself, felt like, you know, when a player says something like that about, you know, a team, about a city, you know, it's incumbent upon the players to come out and play with some type of force, and obviously that didn't happen on Saturday. So a lot of us, when I mean us, I mean Rockets fans, were looking for that, you know, that punch and that urgency. And we saw that at the beginning of the game, you know, yesterday, you know, on Monday, rather. You know, we saw that. I mean, they came out and the Rockets ended up scoring 29 points to the Spurs 15 points in the second game they played. Just a completely different mindset. And obviously it started with Jalen Green, you know, and also a very understated fact with the fact that Steven Adams returned. And he was able to give us some solid minutes off the bench. You know, his ability to not only serve as one of the best screeners in the game, but also an individual who can crash the glass. He's a great offensive rebounder. He's a great rebounder in general, and he can definitely shift pace for your team when he's on the floor for you. It's incredible. But the game we ended up winning on Monday against the Spurs was all about Jalen Green. I mean, he came out intent on attacking the basket, and on top of that, he had his outside shot going. And when I mean going, it was going. And when you have a guy like that who's already super explosive, and you continue to play him in a drop, a drop, meaning if he's coming off a screen, the big isn't even going to hedge. They're just going to drop in the paint and dare him to basically shoot. That's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what Jalen Green did. Just to give you his stat line for the game on Monday, he ended up having 36 points with 7 threes made on 11 of 22 overall field goal shooting. Didn't really do much else in the stat line, but that's all we needed him to do. Because at the end of the day, when Jalen Green sees the basket open up, he can be one of the most explosive and scary scorers in this league. He showed that because the Spurs really didn't have an answer for him. But to get back to the game, I think Jalen Green came out and he played extremely well. Just getting downhill, attacking the basket, really putting pressure on the defense in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, we ended up outscoring the Spurs 33-30. And I thought a lot of that had to do with the Spurs settling back into the game. Obviously, they have a lot of size, so they were able to really give it to us. From a points in the paint perspective, they ended up outscoring us by 24 points. When we talk about points in the paint, right? Like we ended up only scoring 30 points in the paint. They scored 54 points in the paint, right? And that's something that could really shift a game, right? Because when you're able to score that easily in the paint, typically that means you're also able to get to the rim with a regularity, which also means more than likely you're going to be able to control the backboards, the rebounds, which they were able to do, not by a wide margin, but they were still able to control the boards over us, and they were able to get back in the game due to their points in the paint, and also some of their playmaking, right, from guys like Victor Wembanyama. I think Jeremy Sohan played extremely well, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his. He played extremely well for them, especially in that second and third quarter, just getting to the rim, and that's how they were really able to get back into the game. But then getting back to it, I felt like we were ultimately able to win the game due to our ability to close out in the fourth quarter. When you look at what we were able to do in the second half, we got outscored in the second half. But I think the first quarter, like I said, outscoring them 29-15 really set the precedent and allowed us to build a lead that they just weren't able to come back from, right? And I think a lot of it stemmed from what Jalen Green was able to do, right? I think not only getting downhill, but also shooting the three with tremendous confidence, with tremendous accuracy. Like I said, 7 of 13, that's over 50% from the three for a guy like him, who up until this point has been known as a high volume, low efficient, sort of two-level scorer. For him to showcase that type of shooting ability in a game that obviously is still early, but a game that the Rockets need, in my opinion, that's huge. That's huge. And you can tell his maturation is just going to continue to grow as the season progresses. And then you have guys like Jabari Smith Jr., who had a hell of a bounce back game from the game we lost on Saturday. He ended up having 17 points with 8 rebounds. He was 5 of 8 from the field and 2 of 4 from 3. And he made some big shots late in that game. He played extremely well, rebounded the ball extremely well, was able to score within himself. He's not the type of guy that's going to have the offense run through him. But what I've seen is that when he's given a chance to create, either off the dribble, in the mid post, in the low post, off the catch, he can do that. And I think the more we start to see him as a complete player, and the less we use him as a 3-and-D guy, I think we're going to be a lot better off in the long run. Obviously, this was sort of a bounce back game for Alp. He didn't have the typical game we would like to see him have, but he did have another double-double with 12 points and 12 rebounds, 5 assists. He did have 5 personal fouls, so he stayed in foul trouble, and he only played 26 minutes and he was 5 for 14. But he did enough rebounding-wise to keep us in the game and to not let us lose the game. And I think that was super important. I think he was able to contribute to us controlling the pace of the game, especially with a guy like Wemby, who's so skilled and so long, and has the ability to defend the rim at a high level and also defend the perimeter at a decent level as well. I thought Alperen Sengun gave us some solid minutes, even though it wasn't the all-star level-ish numbers that we would like to see, I thought overall he was more solid than he was on Saturday. And then also we got to talk about what Fred VanVleet did. He only had 11 points, but he did have 9 assists with no turnovers. And what people fail to realize is that Fred VanVleet had one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the league last year. And it looks like that's going to continue because even though he wasn't able to score the ball effectively, he was able to pass the ball effectively, and he did hit a very clutch late 3 to put us up by 5 with about 25 seconds left in that game to ultimately give us the win, which was super, super huge because, the Spurs had really did a good job of, coming back on us, and a lot of it had to do with them running their offense through Wembanyama and really getting downhill using Sohan, and also Malachi Branham, he hit 3 big threes late in that game to really get them back in the game when they were making that run in the fourth quarter. Just things we have to tidy up, things we have to tighten up on the defensive end to make sure that a guy coming out of Ohio State who's known as a shooter can't get those open shots late in games when a team is trying to come back and you're trying to put a team away, right? And then also we got some pretty solid bench production, right? Tari Eason came off the bench with 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. He is just everywhere. Tari Eason is the unsung hero of this team. The box score will not show it, but the amount of second chance points he gets, the amount of second chance opportunities he gets for this team is unreal. And he is the perfect just Swiss Army knife player. You can put him in any role on any team and he'll be able to thrive because his ability to defend, his ability to be a primary defender, a weak side defender, his ability to, like I said, get the 50-50 balls, his ability to, give us second chance points, second chance opportunities. Those are things that may not necessarily show up in the box score, but it definitely affects the way the game flows and the ebbs and flows and also the momentum of the game. And I think he's a huge momentum guy and a huge momentum swinger, and I really, really appreciate his efforts. Then we got to talk about Amen Thompson. He has 7 points off the bench, 2 of 5. I'm going to keep on saying it. He has the chance to be second team all defense. I think he is one of the best young defenders in this league. He's so smart. He rarely makes any really big mistakes on the floor, and I feel like that's something that we're going to need moving forward. And then you got guys like Cam Whitmore. He only had 4 points off the bench. And like I said, Steven Adams had 6 points off the bench with the 3 rebounds. And I thought he played really, really solid in limited minutes he was given, right? But ultimately, we were able to pull away, with the win on Monday, really because of the fact that we were able to shoot the ball incredibly well in the first half. Thanks in large part to Jalen Green. I mean, we shot as a team 40.5% from 3. We hit 15 threes out of 37 threes. And for a team that is, in my opinion, is still below average when it comes to quality three-point shooting, any night you get anywhere around 40%, let alone 40% itself, you're always going to be a tough team to beat. So I felt like we were able to win the game from the three-point line ultimately because looking at all the other metrics, we were pretty even. We were also able to force the Spurs into 17 turnovers, and we were able to score 21 points off those 17 turnovers. And like I said early in the video, it goes back to us being able to force turnovers, get out and run, and finish at the rim because we have athletes that can do that, right? So all in all, what I saw from both games is that Jalen Green is definitely the best player on his team so far. He's the best playmaker on his team so far. 4 games into the season, he's averaging 28.8 points per game, on 3.8 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game, on 43% shooting. Not the greatest efficiency, but when you're able to score the ball the way he's able to score the ball for an offense that desperately needs it, all of a sudden shooting percentage really goes out the window in my opinion. And I think he's been playing extremely well on the offensive end, and defensively, like I said, he's just been very, very solid, much improved on the defensive end. So can't wait to see what he's able to do and what he will continue to do for us as we move forward here. Also, the one thing he's really, really improved at is shooting the three. He's shooting 41.3% from three this year. And I think if he continues in that trajectory, if he is able to finish around the 38, 39, percent range from three, that's really going to bode well, not only for his individual game, but for us as a team, because all of a sudden, teams are going to be looking at Jalen Green as a three-level scorer, and now they're going to maybe try to trap him coming off of those screens. And now, because of his elevated playmaking and passing ability, he's going to have the ability to make those good decisions and right decisions where he's getting double teamed. A guy like a Jabari Smith Jr. on the weak side corner, a guy like Alperen Sengun slipping to the basket, a guy like Dylan Brooks to the top of the key, Fred VanVleet to the top of the key. These guys are going to get open shots because of Jalen Green's improved play and how teams are going to continue to play him moving forward, right? So all in all, the biggest takeaway was we need to be better coming out of the gate, and we need to show more assertiveness, starting these games, not starting off so slow, because we don't have the offensive firepower to really fight our way back into every single game we get down by double digits. But also, really the biggest takeaway and the biggest positive for me was Jalen Green. He has just been amazing over the first 4 games of the season, and I really don't anticipate that changing, because you can tell the maturity is there, the leadership is there, and he's really becoming more comfortable under Ime Udoka's system, and Coach Udoka really has taken to him, especially because of his improvements on the defensive end of the ball. Right, so with that being said, that's my analysis for the 2 San Antonio Spurs games we had on the road. Like I said, we ended up splitting both of those games, and the next time we play will be tomorrow. We end up playing the Dallas Mavericks on Halloween, which is going to be pretty funny actually. We play at Dallas, and then after that we're back home where we play Golden State. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. Once again, please follow me on Twitter or X at Coalition Hoops, and on IG at coalition.hoops. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.